Hello YouTube, this is Robert Ness816 and I have yet another unboxing video. This one brought to you by Centrum. No, it's not, that's a lie. No advertising on my channel. This video is brought to you by me. That's right, this guy. Anyways, the purpose of this video is to show you some more pickups that I got. Nothing of value as far as cartridges or anything like that, but what I got here is two new old stock Sega Genesis AC adapters. I have one that will work with the Game Gear and Model 2 Genesis, and another one that will work with the Model 1 Genesis and Model 1 Sega CD. So as far as what I paid for these were both $14.95 plus I think $3.90 shipping. So very reasonable price when you consider that on eBay. These are going for 20 bucks by themselves, sometimes with free shipping. And then you also have idiots selling these for like $26, $30 even, plus shipping for a used AC adapter. So paying the $14.95 plus $3.90 in shipping is well worth it for something that is actually brand freaking new. So really cool to have new stuff. And with that, is it worth it to buy new old stock when you're searching for retro video game things? I think it is. It depends on what it's going for. Some people are going to ask like absurd prices and whatnot, and it really all depends. So right here I have a used but refurbished by me 1602. This AC adapter I got for $1.50 at a flea market about 2 years ago. And basically, whenever you go to a flea market, always rummage through the boxes and bins that are full of like junk power cords and whatnot, because that's where I found a bunch of these. And most of them worked, some of them didn't. This one in particular I did need to recap because the main caps in these go bad. They dry out over time. So yeah, after soldering in a new capacitor with this particular adapter, it's basically good as new. The capacitor cost me 67 cents, I think, for a Nichicon or a Panasonic. I don't really remember what I have in here. But yeah, you can get replacement capacitors at Console 5. They're cheap enough. The more you buy, the cheaper they get. But yeah, so I mean, there's several options out there for buying AC adapters. But when you see something literally brand new like this, someone like me, I like to jump on that because, you know, you never know when this stuff's going to go bad. It's coming up on being almost 30 years old now. So, you know, finding something new is kind of cool. But the question is, again, is it worth it to buy new old stock? I think it is. Like this Super Nintendo controller, for example. I got lucky with these at a flea market, and I found 3 of these that were new old stock. They still had the clear plastic bag over them like that with the black zip tie, well, not zip tie, but tie wrap on them. These controllers, for example, as you can see, I did use them quite a bit now. They were not like that before. But these controllers, I had to take them apart and get them working again because there was like a film on the membranes. So basically, if someone else bought them that didn't know any better, they would assume that these controllers were junk and, you know, maybe throw them out or say that they weren't operational, when all it was just basically for sitting for so long, the rubber had developed some kind of growth on them or whatever that needed to be removed. Thankfully, with soap and water, I was able to do that, and it came right off. So it's not always worth it to buy new old stock items, especially things that are this old, but in some cases it's worth it. So with these two AC adapters, they both seem to work just fine. I've already unpackaged them and tested them out. This one I wasn't able to plug into my multimeter since the positive or negative, I don't remember if these are central negative or positive, but my multimeter wasn't able to fit into the plug there, but it works just fine on my Game Gear. There's no buzzing sounds, there's no nothing. This one also works just fine as well. It's putting out 12.5 volts, 12.60 volts, which is right in line with what this one puts out. And you got to understand too that when you are powering your console, that's when a voltage will drop to about 9 volts. So that's 9 volt DC under a load, not when it's not plugged into anything. And then these will usually put out about 12 to 13 volts too, under no load. But yeah, I mean, that's just a neat little pickup I thought I'd share with you guys. These 1602s are, I can't say that they're hard to come by, but whenever you happen to stumble across a Genesis in the wild, it's always like the people who own that console at the time, they took these AC adapters and they basically they threw them in a box, they threw them out. Who knows what they did with them, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird with these. When you find a Nintendo system, they always have their respective AC adapters, but with these, I don't know. It's not like they blend it in really, because I've never seen an AC adapter like this, you know, that was used with anything else other than a Sega product. But I don't know. I guess a lot of people confused it for other things, especially when you look at the plug that Sega used at the time. Really, just like a generic plug here. So you know, whatever. But you know, if any of my consoles ever need a replacement AC adapter, I now have one. So these are a much better option to buy instead of going out and buying a generic AC adapter on eBay that's like a cell phone charger or whatever. Older systems do usually draw more power, and they draw more power under varying types of load. And you have to understand too that when you use a cartridge that has additional chips inside of it, it's also going to cause the console to draw more power because the CPU is now working harder, the PPUs are working harder, the additional chips inside the cartridge need power. So there's a lot going on in there that's going to cause the system to develop more heat. And that's where the aftermarket power supplies really struggle, because they don't have a good solid transformer inside of them the way that these do. These are big and bulky for a reason, because there's literally a nice big transformer inside of these AC adapters with a nice smoothing circuit after it, which is right over here where all these vents are. These are what you want to power your retro consoles. The adapters that they came with, it doesn't matter if it's Atari, Sony, Sega, Nintendo, you know, whoever. Use the original stuff that came with them. I don't like using anything that's aftermarket, mainly because the threat that it poses to your retro stuff is something that you know, is always a gamble. So I mean, it's like going for a ride in like a piece of crap car. You know, you never know if you're gonna get home or not. There's always gonna be that one day where it breaks down on you, and then you're like, crap, now what do I do? So yeah, definitely a very cool buy on both of these items. So I guess we can plug these into my multimeter just so you guys can see if there is any variance between something that's been sitting in the box for 30 years versus something that's been sitting in a box for maybe 20 years or so, and that has been refurbished. So let's check it out. Both of these have the same, I believe it's a 3300 microfarad capacitor. This one, depending on whichever capacitor I got, might be a 25 volt cap, whereas these originally were 16 volt capacitors. But it really shouldn't make a difference. So let's go check them out on the multimeter. Hey guys, so we're going to test out the old AC adapter. So that would be this one right here, and this is the new old stock AC adapter. So these are center negative. So what I'm going to do here is take my multimeter and touch the positive to the outside, and we'll see what type of voltage reading we get. 12.70. As you can see, I'm getting an inconsistent reading. There we go. 12.73. So that's nice, consistent voltage. If you have an aftermarket power supply and you plug one of these in and you basically test it with a multimeter, you'll see how the voltage jumps around on them. This is varying within a millivolt, which is very good, and that's what you want to see. So if the voltage on these jumps around a lot, that means that your system is getting very inconsistent voltage, and a lot of your electronic devices do not like that, especially devices that are very old to begin with. So let's go check out the new one. Okay, so we are now testing out the new AC adapter, and we can see that the voltage is slightly higher, almost 13 volts. And that might even go up a little bit higher, maybe, maybe not. But as you can see with age, the old one seems to have dropped down a slight bit, but I doubt that 20 millivolts will do anything. But either way, you can see how nice and consistent the voltage is on this, on both of them actually. So there you go. And that's really why I like sticking with the original stuff. Brand new or old, you know, this stuff was, I can't say it was built to last, but it was built a lot better than, you know, what you would get in the aftermarket today. Aftermarket products are not what they used to be at all. Back in the 90s when this stuff was new, third-party items were built to much, much higher standards. They're not going to be even as high as what Sega or Nintendo had back then, but they're going to be, you know, a lot better than what they have today. Today, your standards are like nothing because the products that they're being made for are really not supported by the manufacturers anymore, or those manufacturers don't even exist. So you have two problems there. You have no regulation by the manufacturers, and you have no real quality control by the suppliers that are making new third-party products, which is really what I do not like to see. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that like to write YouTube reviews, Amazon reviews, eBay reviews, like moments after they open the package, saying that the new product they bought is the best thing in the world, and then months later it fails on them. So, you know, reviews by people who are not technically savvy are not something that I like to go by, and it's unfortunate that it creates kind of like a snowball effect where more and more people keep purchasing this stuff based on prior reviews. So, you know, it is unfortunate, but as far as me, though, I really do try to stick with what came with this stuff, because even though, you know, when you're playing with a video game system, which is what you're doing, for crying out loud, it is a toy, I still would like my stuff to last. I don't want to go out and buy a new Nintendo every couple of weeks. I don't want to go out and buy a new Super Nintendo every couple of weeks. And I certainly don't want to go out and buy a new Sega Genesis every couple of weeks. That's not my goal. That's not what I want to do with this hobby. I want to have, or keep what I have, you know, working really good, as my camera does not want to focus. Focus, you fuck. Yes, that's being a piece of shit right now. But, yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, buy quality stuff, buy OEM when you can, and if you have the know-how, then refurbish it, because otherwise, you know, you're going to be buying new consoles and stuff fairly often, and, you know, that's not cool. No, that's not cool. Nobody wants that. It's not exactly easy anymore to go out and find, you know, like a nice Sega Genesis anymore. Actually, I shouldn't lie. It is really easy to find a nice Sega Genesis, but the Sega CD, not so easy to find one of these in good shape. The Super Nintendo, sort of getting hard to find these in good shape. These are still a dime a dozen, so don't worry about them. But still, you know, the fact remains, you know, you don't want to break your stuff due to poor workmanship with third-party products. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys.